What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video here on the World of Juice channel. Welcome back to another round table discussion. That is right. We are going to be taking a look into how do I want to phrase this? Well, you already know by the title of the video what we're going to be doing, but we are going to be taking a look at the greatest players, the greatest individual players to ever be put into a Madden video game. Now, you guys obviously know what I'm talking about here. There's over the time that Madden has been a game, I think it goes back to like 99 or something. So 21 years that this game has been out. There have been players sprinkled in throughout those years that have just been game breaking and game wrecking. And most of the time they're fun to use, but there is every once in a while where you don't use that player and then you get wrecked. So this list is going to be discussing the top 5 best Madden characters, individual Madden players that have ever been in the game. So starting with number 5, it is a 1 through 5 list, so I'm going to be going up from 5 all the way up to the best at number 1. Number 5, I have Chris Johnson in Madden 11. Now, if you don't know who Chris Johnson is, it's CJ2K, if that rings any bells. That's his nickname. Chris Johnson is one of the strangest stories in NFL history. Like, he burst onto the scene. He rushes for 2,000 yards. That's where he gets the 2K from in his name. He rushes for 2,000 yards, I think, in back-to-back seasons. I may be wrong on that, but I know he's done it at least twice. But Madden 11 was the game where they put him in as, I'm pretty sure, the fastest guy in the game. Now, in real life, on the field, CJ was blazing. He was fast. He was the fastest guy on the field in real life, and so they transfer that and they put that in the game. So in Madden 11, Chris Johnson was very frustrating to play against. He was very useful when you had him on your team. He's one of the best Madden individual players that has ever been in the game. That's why he's 5 on the list. Madden 11 in general was just kind of a weird game, but Chris Johnson stood out above all of it, and he's number 5 on the list. He was just, every time you would run with him, you just had to wait just a second for some blocking, and then boom, you were gone. There was nobody on the defense was ever gonna catch Chris Johnson if he got into space. So it's kind of like how Tyreek Hill in Madden 20 and Madden 19 and Madden 21 and all these newer games, it's kind of like that, only nowadays it's more realistic. Back in Madden 11, the tackling was not as realistic as it is now. If you guys have never played Madden 11 or some of the older Madden games, and FYI, this list is not the highest, or the most recent Madden that I have on this list is Madden 11. So nobody from like Madden 12 on have really been that crazy. I mean, Calvin Johnson was kind of crazy. He was a beast, but he didn't make this list. He'd probably be like 6 or 7 on this list. But anyway, getting back to Chris Johnson. Like, back in the day, if you had somebody that was game breaking like that with quickness, I mean, like just speed, you really couldn't play defense as efficiently as you can now. So if Chris Johnson were to get into space in Madden 11, he would be absolutely gone. There's no catching him. But if you took the Madden 11 version of Chris Johnson and put it into Madden 20 or Madden 21, whenever it comes out, I feel like it wouldn't be as bad. He wouldn't be that difficult to catch. Yes, he's got 99 speed, and if he gets out in space in Madden 20, yes, he's gonna run and nobody's gonna catch him in for a touchdown. But it's just different. It's just different in the way that the game has developed over the years. The tackling is just different from Madden 11 to Madden 20, so there's really no comparison there. So back in Madden 11, Chris Johnson was a phenomenal person. I'm saying if you put Tyreek Hill in Madden 11, he'd probably be on this list. But Chris Johnson is the version of Tyreek Hill from back then. So that's number 5 on this list. Now, number 4, maybe a little bit of bias. It's not Tom Brady. I'm just going to say Tom Brady's not even on this list. So the bias I mean is my personal favorite Madden game, and the Madden game that I think is the greatest one of all time is Madden 05. It had Ray Lewis on the cover. It had a great soundtrack. It had terrific franchise mode. I think it had some sort of career mode, superstar mode. I can't remember exactly, but it had everything. It had practicing. It was just a good game. It was a phenomenal game. The gameplay was good for that time. It's a good game, and in my opinion, it's the greatest Madden game of all time. Not only because of all that, but I have like really fond memories of the game, so of playing that game. So that game is my favorite, my personal favorite of all time. And speaking of that game, there was one player in particular in that game that if you got to use him was game breaking, and it just happens to be the cover athlete of that game, Ray Lewis. Now, that game, I think, is the first game they introduced the hit stick. I'm pretty sure they might have called it the truck stick. I don't know. They went back and forth on the names a couple times. I'm pretty sure it was called the hit stick back then. And if you used Ray Lewis and used the hit stick back in Madden 05, boom, fumble, injury. Something's going to happen, because that game, the way that they built Ray Lewis in that game and the way that they incorporated the hit stick in that game, it was just unbelievably crazy, the stuff you could do with Ray Lewis in that game. And so that's why he's number 4. It's more game-wrecking than the speed of Chris Johnson, but it's not as game-wrecking as the top 3 on this list. It's still pretty crazy. I have Ray Lewis as my number 4 on the greatest Madden players of all time in Madden 05. Now, getting into the top 3 is where I had a little bit of debate. Not between one. One is, everybody knows who my 1 is going to be. But 2 and 3, I could go back and forth. I could flip either way. It doesn't really mess that up that much. But the way that I have it officially is Peyton Manning at number 3. Now, the reason I say I could go back and forth between 2 and 3 is because the Peyton Manning that I have on this list is not just one specific Madden game. The Peyton Manning that I have on this list stretches from Madden 06 to Madden 11. To Madden 11. That's the time frame that Peyton Manning was arguably the best quarterback to ever be in a Madden game, because it was so mind-numbingly frustrating to play against Peyton Manning, especially in the later versions like Madden 10 and Madden 11, even in Madden like 14 and 15, like when he would just sit at the huddle and then they would come out of the huddle and he would just sit behind in the I formation or under center in any play and just wait the clock out. It was so frustrating. I still have nightmares about it. Just waiting there. He's just sitting there, not snapping the ball until the play clock drops so much. And they just coded him so weirdly in that game. Like, I know he did that in real life, but it felt like they enhanced it and they made it more prominent in these Madden games. And not just that he would sit back and sit under center and wait it out and make you frustrated then, but actually when he snapped the ball, he was like precise, deadly. There was really no mistakes made by the AI when they were Peyton Manning. So it was almost impossible to like intercept him or defend him. And if you did get a pick off of him, you had to capitalize on it and you had to score a touchdown or get 3 points or something, because the Peyton Manning from '06 to 11 is just like he wouldn't miss an opportunity. And I know that's weird saying that from an AI, but saying that an AI wouldn't miss an opportunity, because everybody knows that AI are flawed in every game. But this Peyton Manning, something felt different about it. Like, he was precise. He was methodical. He would throw. It was basically real life Peyton Manning in a Madden game for a stretch of time from '06 to 11. That's why it's just I couldn't pick one particular Peyton Manning version, so I had to put the stretch of games on this list. And once we get to number 2, you'll see why I could flip them either way. But speaking of number 2, I have Randy Moss from Madden 09. And if you guys have ever played Madden 09, you know that Madden 09 was around the time where EA was going through the stretch of the offense was finally starting to pick up in real life. Like, more teams were going offensive heavy. They were going pass heavy. So Madden 09 was like the start of where EA kind of pushed the pass heavy offense into their games. So when you were Randy Moss and you were what team was he on in 09? Like the Raiders or something? I don't forget who the quarterback was of the Raiders, but it didn't really matter who the quarterback was. As long as he had a strong arm, you could throw that football. You just full send Randy Moss straight vertical. It doesn't matter. Straight vertical. You just chuck it up there, just throw it, and then he's going to come down with it in that game. It was just unstoppable. It's kind of like how Calvin Johnson was in Madden 15, I think that was. But this is Calvin Johnson before it was Calvin Johnson. This Randy Moss was the best wide receiver in a Madden game. He was the deadliest receiver in a Madden game. You could literally throw that ball up anywhere, and 9 times out of 10 he's going to come down with it. It was frustrating to play against. It was fun to play with, and that's why I could flip Moss and Manning either 2 and 3. It doesn't really matter. I could go either way. I could see Peyton being number 2 and Moss being number 3. You could flip them either way. I can see an argument for both, but my official one, I have flipped Manning at 3 and Moss at 2. So that is 2 through 5, and now number 1. Now the one that everybody's been waiting for. Everybody should know who it is. It is the greatest Madden individual player that has ever been in a game. The most game-wrecking, the most game-breaking, the most frustrating to play against. You could literally do whatever you wanted with this man and get away with it, and it would work, because that's just how they programmed him. Now, it's not going to be, it's not just video football games, because if that was going to be the case, I would probably have Bo Jackson from Techno Bowl in this list, but this is just strictly Madden, so no Bo Jackson. But this guy was kind of the Madden version of Bo Jackson from Techno Bowl, because in that game, Bo Jackson literally, you couldn't tackle. Like, there was a 1% chance you were going to tackle Bo Jackson in that game. And that's basically how you feel when you play Madden 04 with the cover athlete, Michael Vick. That's right. Michael Vick is my number 1 on this list for reasons I shouldn't really have to explain, but I will anyway. In Madden 04, you see, back in the old days, I feel so old saying that, but back in the early 2000s, when EA and Madden were just starting to figure out their game development, they were starting to figure out kind of more realistic tackling for that time, and they were starting to put new features and stuff in the games, and they were getting some traction. And then Michael Vick bursts onto the scene and is just the fastest man you've ever seen. He's so quick for a quarterback, and he's left-handed, so he can run to the left and throw it and run and do whatever he wants. And he was just a dominant player in real life for the Falcons and in the game for the Falcons. So in Madden 04, they made Michael Vick's speed 99, his acceleration 99. I think his break tackling was 97, maybe 99. It was up there in the high 90s. And you could literally do whatever you wanted, literally, with Michael Vick. Like, there's no capping on this, no joking, no false words here. You could literally do whatever you want. He was the most dominant player on the field each and every time you loaded up a game in Madden 04. There was literally no stopping this man. I had an experience with Michael Vick that still haunts me to this day. Me and my brother were playing Madden 04. This has probably been 10 years ago. Maybe even more than that. I don't even know. But my brother was the Falcons. I forget who I was. I was probably the Patriots. He would snap the ball with Michael Vick in the shotgun, run all the way back to his own end zone, start at the 1 yard line, and run all the way back and score a touchdown. So that is just so frustrating because the defense was just not quick. It just wasn't quick enough. Nobody on defense was even remotely quick enough to catch. Not the safeties, not the corners, no linebackers. Nobody was quick enough to catch Michael Vick. This game, it was so utterly frustrating because Michael Vick could literally do whatever he wanted. He would run around all the linemen, and he would run around the safeties and the corners, and he would spin around. He would come back, and he would do it again in the same play, and the clock would be running. It's just he's doing all this dipping and diving, and he's dodging everybody. You can't tackle him. It's just so frustrating. So that is why Michael Vick is in my opinion, the most dominant player to have ever be put into a Madden game. If you put Michael Vick in Madden 20, just like the Chris Johnson example, it's not going to work as well. It's still going to work if he gets into space, but you can't do the same kind of physics. You can't do the same kind of things. It's just not as... Madden 04 was just not as realistic as Madden 20 is. And I know we dog Madden 20 and we're dogging Madden 21 because of the stuff that they don't have in the game and the stuff that Madden 04 and those kind of games had. But one thing that Madden 20 has is realistic. It's more realistic. So if you were to put you take the stats, the exact copy, you copy and paste Michael Vick from 04 and you put him into Madden 20, yeah, he's going to get some plays off. It's going to be basically a faster Lamar Jackson. It's going to be like, think of Lamar Jackson, but just give him 99 speed and give him 99 acceleration and agility and elusiveness and all this kind of stuff. Just max out all his stats. That's basically what Michael Vick would be in Madden 20. But even Lamar Jackson is not as quick as what Michael Vick was in Madden 04. Like Lamar Jackson, to get him into space, he's probably going to get a touchdown. But like it's just more realistic. So there's just something different about the older Madden games that bring back some fond memories and some nightmares as well. But that is going to be my list. To recap, at number 5, we had Chris Johnson from Madden 11. Number 4, we had Ray Lewis from Madden 05. 3 was Peyton Manning from 06 to 11 in the Madden games. Number 2 was Randy Moss from Madden 09. And number 1 was Michael Vick from Madden 04. So you guys can let me know down in the comment section below if you have anybody else that you think should be on this list that I didn't put on this list, or that I may have forgotten, or that you guys think may be better than somebody else, or if you have any ideas of if I should rearrange the 2 through 5, because obviously Michael Vick is going to be number 1, but if I should rearrange 2 through 5 in any way, then you guys can let me know down in the comment section below. If you have any other ideas of lists that I can do, you can leave them down in the comment section below. And yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to smash the like button on it, hit the notification bell and the subscription button down below as well. It really does help me out. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. See ya!